The US Department of Health and Human Services found that women are more likely to mistreat and neglect their children than men. Similar patterns appear in child protection data from England and Wales. My personal theory for this is that women typically spend more time with children than men, so it would make sense that rates of female abuse are higher. Needless to say, this absolutely does not excuse child maltreatment and is just another arsenal in the case against feminists arguing for female innocence and victimhood. In this video, I'm going to look at some toxic mothers in film and television, analyze how they abuse their children, and explore what an example of healthy parenting actually looks like. My name is Zarina Macha, and you're watching The Rational Female. If you enjoy my content, give the video a like and subscribe to my channel. We tend to connote motherhood with being positive, warm, and caring. Many mothers are like this. However, I am aware that many people do not have a positive relationship with their parents. What makes me visibly ill is how society handles abusive parents and how this is shown in media. People are often taught to forgive their parents or try and have reduced contact with them. I believe that if someone has completely destroyed you, there is no need to keep them in your life. Just because someone is your family doesn't mean you should have to speak to them. You wouldn't keep contact with an old friend or partner, so why should you be forced to keep a toxic family member in your life? It's different if you can't actually get away from them, but generally, I don't think anyone should have to keep a bad parental figure in their life. The YouTube channel The Take did a video back in 2020 on the bad mother trope. I have a video analyzing their videos in the cards. They discuss bad mums in popular culture and explore various sides of the bad mother. Instead of pushing for accountability, they make the claim that bad mothers are victims of external societal pressure to conform to expectations of what it means to be a good woman. In other words, typical feminist jargon. Being a bit forgetful and absent-minded isn't the same as being a downright abusive parent. Parents like Carrie White and Mother Gothel are not victims of societal pressure. We all know that motherhood takes a toll on a woman, just as fatherhood and financial pressures take a toll on a man. Evil mothers should be condemned because of the harm and trauma they push onto their children. They may have their own traumas, but that doesn't negate their genuine cruelty. There are also mothers out there who are not necessarily evil, but they are cold and selfish. This is a more common form of emotional abuse, and unfortunately is quietly glossed over in society in comparison to predatory male behavior. This is due to a social bias we have towards viewing men as the bad guys, yet excusing women even when women behave badly. A lot of this doubtlessly comes from the women are wonderful effect. So let's look at some bad fictitious mothers. Beverly Hofstadter in The Big Bang Theory exacts emotional abuse onto Leonard. She is never proud of his academic work and never shows him any affection. Her parenting style was reward-based, meaning her love was shown conditionally. Leonard's entire childhood was a series of social experiments designed to increase Beverly's own academic work in the field of psychology. She used Leonard as a test subject for her own books. This form of parental neglect led Leonard to become heavily insecure and people-pleasing as an adult. It explains his dysfunctional relationships with Penny and Sheldon. With Sheldon, Leonard acts like his personal caretaker, constantly chauffeuring him around and adjusting his entire life to fit Sheldon's ridiculous needs and demands. With Penny, Leonard puts her on a pedestal and walks on eggshells around her, constant snapping and storming off. Obviously, this is done for entertainment, but if this were real, someone in Leonard's situation should move out of Sheldon's flat and find a girl who treats him better. I know it's easier said than done, which is why therapy and working on oneself is so crucial to healing a person's traumas and working through their attachment styles. Leonard doesn't really respect himself, hence why he lets the people around him treat him poorly. Most of this is the fault of his mother and the psychological damage she did towards him. Bonnie McDougal from Sex and the City is another narcissistic mother and a rather selfish mother-in-law. It's never addressed in the show, but I strongly suspect that the reason for Trey's impotence is due to his mother's controlling nature. Charlotte has to deal with her mother-in-law trying to interfere with their marriage, not to mention not wanting Charlotte to get the apartment in the divorce settlement. Charlotte tries really hard with Trey, and neither Trey nor Charlotte are bad people. Trey clearly has a dysfunctional relationship with Bunny, and this is subtly depicted, such as the first scene we see her in, where she subtly manipulates Trey's food and drink choices. And let's not forget that bathtub scene. Livia Soprano is also controlling, however, she is considerably more evil than the two just mentioned. The early seasons of The Sopranos are based around Tony heavily dealing with his relationship with his mother, who Jennifer Melfi suspects has borderline or narcissistic personality disorder. Livia comes across as a sociopath. She is cruel, calculating, and constantly complains. Tony goes out of his way to try and make her happy by bringing her music and putting her in a retirement home that resembles a fancy hotel. Of course, Tony himself is an evil, self-absorbed man. However, a lot of the reason as to why he is the way he is because of his mother, and his father, admittedly. The worst thing that Livia does is try to have Tony murdered in season 1 by manipulating Uncle Junior. There are no words to describe this. It's brilliant storytelling and really goes to show what a sick woman she is. Mother Gothel is also an evil mother, although it's a bit worse to watch, as Rapunzel is a good person, while Tony is obviously a crook. In Tangled, Rapunzel is stolen from her birth parents by Mother Gothel because of Rapunzel's magical hair that keeps Mother Gothel young. Mother Gothel is manipulative, puts down Rapunzel, and lies to her about her entire life. She keeps her in a tower for 18 years. When I first saw Tangled, the ending when Flynn Rider cut her hair shocked me, as I expected him to stab Mother Gothel. Perhaps it was just easier for him to cut Rapunzel's hair. Unlike the others mentioned, Mother Gothel dies and Rapunzel gets a happy ending. The same sadly can't be said for Carrie White, whose mother is a religious fanatic that routinely abuses Carrie. It's unsettling to watch. Carrie is locked up and tormented by her mother, who views anything sexual, including the female anatomy, as sinful. I don't remember Carrie too much, as it was a few years ago that I read the novel and watched the film, but I generally sympathized with Carrie and what she did. I think it was justified, considering the amount of cruelty she was subjugated to. Nina's mother in Black Swan is also controlling and disturbing. Erica has mood swings, and she treats Nina like she is a little girl, despite her being an adult. Nina becomes psychotic and paranoid over the course of the movie, and her mother clearly contributes to her mental state through being unnecessarily controlling. The most disturbing scene is when Nina is pleasuring herself, and her mother appears to be seated in the room afterwards. It is intentionally ambiguous as to whether or not she was there the entire time. To contrast with all this, I'd like to give an example of a film that depicts a balanced view of motherhood and of parenting in general. In Bend It Like Beckham, Jess's mother is strict and a bit overbearing and doesn't want Jess to play football. However, towards the end, she comes around and allows Jess to follow her dreams. This is largely thanks to Jess's father, as fathers tend to be softer on daughters in general. It goes to show that good parenting works best when parents work together as a team. This film depicts realistic, healthy parenting that is about being strict and setting boundaries, but also allowing the child to grow up. There is an obvious cultural difference here. Parenting in non-Western cultures is usually a bit stricter than parenting in Western cultures. Some of that can actually be quite positive, as long as the parent also listens to the child and what their needs are. Ultimately, not everyone should be a parent. Nobody knows how to be a good parent, as there's no instruction manual, and there are too many messed up people in this world because of poor parenting or other social ailments. I strongly believe that in this day and age, only people in stable relationships with a safe financial situation should have children. That's just my personal opinion. We no longer need to procreate for survival, so I don't think people should procreate just because they feel like it. That's selfish, and it creates a negative environment for a child to grow up in. We have got to hold women accountable for bad behavior, and that includes being a bad mother. People with severe unresolved trauma should not be having children unless or until it is resolved. Otherwise, you're just messing up another person. But again, that's just my opinion. Do let me know your thoughts on this below. For regular essays critiquing feminism, follow my Rational Female Substack. Link is available here or in the description below. To support the channel further, consider buying me a coffee via this link. Your support really helps me out a lot.